Doufám, že jste si užili oběd. Chtěl bych vás přivítat na odpolední části, která bude zaměřena více na konkrétní technologie, které můžete využít ať už při aplikaci zákonu o kybernetické bezpečnosti, nebo v případě, že budete mít nějaké compliance požadavky. Každopádně odpolední program je rozdělen do 3 hlavních částí a to vlastně koresponduje s tím, co jsme prezentovali v rámci Secure the Breach konceptu. To znamená kontrola přístupu, bezpečný key management, jednoznačné úložiště kryptografických klíčů a následně kryptování samotné. Mezitím čas bude vyplněn 2 případovými studiemi. Jak jsem zmínil, tak jedna případová studie bude blízká hlavně těm, kteří jsou ze státní správy. A druhá případová studie bude zase extrémní z druhého pólu v rámci našeho industrie, v rámci našeho odvětví, jelikož se bude jednat o případovou studii, která souvisí vlastně s cloudem, s virtualizací a vlastně adopcí šifrovacích nástrojů v rámci těchto nových služeb. Takže já bych poprosil teďka Jasona, aby začal svou přednášku, která se bude právě zabírat v oblasti autentizace. Jak jsem zmiňoval, Jason je náš Authentication Service Guy, hlavně od začátku, a stál za vznikem vlastně toho konceptu a vůbec toho nové filozofie ponětí autentizace jako služby. Takže já předám slovo jemu a následující 40 minut bude jeho. Jason, you can start.
So, mute. Okay. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Okay. Hello, everyone again. Who had a good lunch? Who had a beer with their lunch? Yeah. So you'll be falling asleep. Okay, fine. So for the next 40 minutes, we're just going to talk about authentication. How many people use authentication to date, as in two-factor authentication? Okay. How many of you use Google? How many use Google? Everyone. How many of you have enabled the two-factor authentication you get for free with Google? Okay, some of you. Good. So, as per my previous slides or presentation, data breaches are happening around, yeah? I don't think I need to emphasize that anymore. One of the simplest things we can actually do to prevent a breach is to implement two-factor authentication. Two-factor authentication is something you know and something you have. So essentially what you're doing is generating a random one-time password. So if a bad guy is to actually compromise your password, it doesn't really matter because it's a one-time password. The next password you're going to use is different. This is why Google and a lot of other large online organizations now are actually moving to two-factor authentication. So 4 years ago, 2 years ago, whatever, it was very simple. The use case was, I'm Jason, I'm logging into my VPN and then into Active Directory. So there was just a one-to-one relationship. The kind of problem we've got now is, as users, we're logging into many different things, with many different identities, from many different devices, into many different applications. So what we've done, we've actually compounded the problem, because now a bad guy's got many points of entry to go after. So he can go after your personal life, or he can go after your business life. So this cross-pollination. So 4 years ago, one-to-one relationship, now it's one-to-many. That's a big, big problem. So the world's evolving, multiple endpoints, and in fact, there isn't really an endpoint anymore. You have browsers, you have devices, and many points of entry. And we have to really, really consider and change the way we're actually authenticating ourselves. So, essentially, everything you're accessing today is a service of some kind. So be it Google, in your personal life, you're logging into the cloud. Be it in your business life, you may be using Salesforce. Or you may even be logging into applications which are cloud-based or web-based, and you don't actually know what they are. But all of these points of entry are very, very easy targets for attackers. Does everyone know the concept of phishing and phasing? Phishing attack, yeah? Where users or a bad guy will send you an email of some kind, you get to click on it. What he's trying to do there is get your username and get your password. And they're getting really, really creative. So my wife called me last night, and she kind of knows I'm kind of paranoid when it comes to information security. And I've got 3 young boys as well who kind of, I think the eldest knows more about security than I do. She rang me, she said, we had an email today. I'm like, okay, yeah, there's an invoice outstanding from an oil company. We live in the country on a farm, so we don't have gas, we don't have oil. She responded saying, hi there, thanks for your email, but all our invoices are up to date. They came back and said, yeah, we're just checking, but sorry, there was a problem, but could you provide me your username, please, for your oil account, so we can validate you? She replied. And then she's gone, holy shit. She's just realised what she's done. The email was so convincing, and the invoice with our home address, our account details on it, she thought it was real. They're getting very, very, very clever. So straight away, within 10 minutes, they'd socially engineered my wife. They got her username to the online oil account. The second step was just the password. I actually looked at the online website last night for the oil company, and that should be the forgotten password. The process for that is very, very insecure. So now they have the account number and a username. To actually go to the next stage is very, very simple for them. I actually notified the oil company this morning. But that's, and I get this stuff. I like to think my wife gets this stuff. It's a real, real problem. So the only way we're going to remove it is by implementing two-factor authentication. And to my point, these are from the Verizon data breach survey last year. 29% of all attacks that are occurring at the moment, and that's the attacks that are reported, are our social engineering, essentially, phishing, phasing, whatever. Let me give you another scenario. I want to hack your Google account or one of your online social networking sites. All I need is your email address. I go to Google, I type forgot password, or I click on forgot password. I type in your email address. A secret question comes up. What do I do? I go to Facebook, I go to Twitter, or I start sending you particular campaigns. I have the answer. I go into Google now, I type in the answer to the question. I'm into your Google account. I look at your emails. What do I do? I see you've gone shopping on Amazon. I go to Amazon. I click on forgot password on Amazon. I type in my email address. The new password comes into the Google account. I log back into Amazon. I go shopping. What do I go shopping for? Not for books. I go for vouchers because they're electronic. They're e-currency. It's coming to your Gmail account. I sell them. It gets better. I see your contacts in Google. So what do I do now? I start sending them individual emails. Hi Andre, Jason here. I'm at work today. I need some information. Can you send this information to me? Because it's come from Andre's, it's come from the individual's account back to a trusted person. He thinks it's that individual. And it just escalates. So that's how easy it is. And the other fact, and I said this morning, and we're not going to dwell on it, 76% of all attacks that happened last year started from a password being compromised. So if there's one thing you can do today, this year, is implement two-factor authentication. And we're going to get into why haven't you done this already? Because it just amazes me. To the point where pretty much most of you are using Google. I would say less than 5% of you here are actually using the two-factor authentication that you're getting for free. Yeah? So someone like Google are giving you two-factor authentication to secure yourselves, but you're not using it. I don't get it. I really don't get it. Is it because you don't know, can't be bothered, I'm not going to be breached? or it's too much hassle? Who knows? Only you can answer that. So, I'm going to give you a solution that hopefully will protect your business, okay? So I actually invented this platform, so I'm kind of passionate about it. One of my specialities when I was an ethical hacker was passwords. That's how we got in. That's how we could only pay, that's how we paid our salaries at the time. You know, people, even I suppose still now, back in 15 years ago, kind of, can we hack into you and you pay us? They just laugh. Really? Why do we want you to hack in? We're secure. So we used to do a no hack, no fee. So if we got in, there was a fee. If we couldn't get in, there was no money for us. And our speciality was passwords. And very, very quickly we realized the world's evolving. And to solve this password problem, there needs to be an offering, a service that can allow organizations to scale, deploy authentication, two-factor authentication instantly on demand as you require it, with minimal impact on the business, and more importantly, minimal cost. So that's what we're going to talk about now. So SaaS, very simple, provide you the ability to rapidly scale and deploy authentication. You can deploy 10,000 users in 10 minutes, no problem at all. Zero impact to the business, zero impact to IT. Or you may just want to deploy 10 users. The problem and why people haven't deployed two-factor authentication in their businesses to date is because it's been complicated, expensive, and time-consuming. So this is what the SaaS SafeNet authentication service does. Simple and easy. Cost should not be an issue. The issue is you doing it, you implementing it. As I said, you're not even doing it for Google. You know, we're kind of, you know, Google are giving it away for free. We're kind of giving it away extremely cheap. Yeah? To the point where the cost per user is less than a coffee per month, depending on the brand of coffee, of course. There should be no reason. Cost shouldn't be an issue here. More importantly, the SafeNet authentication service gives you more functionality than any other authentication platform in the world. And it's really easy. You don't need to be a geek to do this. We've designed it so if you can use a mouse, you can deploy this stuff. Some organizations are really complicated. They have different business units, different business functions, different departments, different regions. With SaaS, you can configure the platform and mold it into your business if you're a larger organization. And we'll talk in detail about this in due course. So SaaS, this is it. It's a cloud-based service. We'll come on to cloud in a minute. You deploy it in seconds and in minutes. What's going on here? Okay. You can protect everything. If you're deploying cloud-based applications, secure them. And what drives me bonkers, yeah? People are deploying cloud-based services, which is great. I endorse it. I love it. But there's no two-factor authentication. So you're putting all your crown jewels into the cloud, and it's just protected by a simple password. If the cloud provider does not support authentication, tell them, I need authentication, I want it. And if they don't, you move on to the next one. You can connect SaaS into any cloud-based application. There's no excuse and no reason. It takes minutes. Your perimeter, so where you have already remote access, VPNs, SSL VPNs, Outlook, web access, Office 365, web applications, whatever, you can enable it for authentication. And then kind of getting into the technical side of it, it supports multiple protocols. So Radius, SAML, these are standards which are pretty much every product supports. But this is where the pain comes into authentication. The SafeNet authentication does more than just saying yes to JSON or no to JSON, logging in and out. It provides you a full automated service delivery platform. And that's the downside to other authentication platforms on the market. Anyone can just go and buy an authentication platform and install it. But then, how do you do the automation? How do you do the deployment? You've got to build other systems in. You've got to build different processes. SaaS, it's all out of the box. It gives you all of that, hence why it's the world's leading cloud-based authentication, or in fact, the leading authentication platform. It's there. You don't have to build any other processes, hence why you can deploy 10,000 users very, very, very rapidly. For example, for any resellers or anyone who's looking to sell authentication into another part of the business, it has a billing engine built into it. So you, as the business owner, you can actually charge other business units and make a profit. Any report you want out of the product just happens automatically. You schedule the report, select the report, do it once, it just happens. And that's the beauty of the authentication as a service. You do something once, you never have to do it again. Branding. Wouldn't it be great if you could log into the product or the service and it's branded as yours? But not just the look and feel, the language. Why don't you have it in native language, local language? When messages or alerts get sent out of it, it's in local language. User acceptance is greater. Tokens. I tend not to talk about tokens. Our competitors, that's all they talk about. My token shinier than their tokens. That's the sales pitch. Sorry. Tokens are tokens. Tokens generate one-time passwords. You can have software tokens, hardware tokens, grid-based tokens, whatever. We do it all. It's about the back-end platform. It's about the automation, the transparency, the workflow. It just needs to happen. Security. By taking the SafeNet authentication service from the cloud from us, it's going to be far more secure than you can even implement. And we'll touch on security in due course. Multi-tier. Devolve responsibility into different business units, business functions. It's all this is in the box. It's standard. Service alerts. Whatever alert, it can just happen. You can notify the end user. Great example would be, at the moment, when users lock themselves out, so they may log in remotely, type in their password 3 times incorrectly. What happens? The account locks. They've got to pick up the help desk, they've got to verify themselves to the help desk, the administrator needs to go away, unlock the account. Kind of lost half a day, yeah? Not the case with SaaS. The user logs in 3 times incorrectly because he's kind of typing wrong keys in. Instantly he receives an SMS message or an email. Hi Mr. End User, we've noticed that you've logged in 3 times incorrectly. If it's not you, call this number immediately. If it was you, log back in again in 3 minutes or whatever. You can automate the whole process. For those of you who are kind of technical, or businesses that like to consume APIs, and by the way, if you're not even looking at APIs as a business, you kind of might want to go and look at what APIs are. They will dramatically change the way you interact with the web and you do business. An API is another sales channel. So if you're selling products or services, you need to consider an API. We give you an API for everything. The token, the actual service itself, every component of our authentication platform, you get an API. You get it for free. Let me give you a use case. Could be an e-commerce company or an online organization that have an app. Everyone has apps now, yeah? But that app requires a username and password. We all know the normal username and password is very, very prone and weak. and insecure and not best practice. So why don't you take our token API and include it within your app? So now, when you fire up the app, it basically generates a random one-time password for that transaction or that process at the time. This is all free. And then fundamentally, why did we design an authentication platform like this? It's very simple. When we were looking at the market 12, 14 years ago, all the competitors, and still today, it's exactly the same. They have a product and it's rigid. For you to implement that product, you've got to change your whole business. The business process, the way you deploy it, the way you manage it, and you have to break stuff. Breaking stuff is kind of hard, yeah? And it's a big cost to yourselves. So what we said is, if we can create an open platform where customers like you change our product to fit your business needs, that's the way we need to go. That's exactly what we did. So with our authentication as a service, you change nothing in your business at all. You configure our platform to map into your needs. Okay? So multi-tier, multi-tenant, what does this mean? Very simple. With the service itself, this could be your business up here. And what you can do, you can create different business units. They could be by region, by department, by country, by language, whatever. And you can devolve responsibility, different tasks to HR, to whoever. It's so powerful. So to take that one step further, this could be you here. You can have regions, you can have business unit, business functions, department. This department here can be service delivery, and they split that into HR. Each are virtual authentication servers, spun up instantly. Devolve responsibility, they can have relationships, whatever. Different billing, different branding, different languages, whatever. All within one container. It's totally unique. The competitors have tried copying us for who knows how long. We're the only people who can do this. But the key here is it maps into your business. So this structure maps exactly to how your business is. By department, by function, by region, whatever. And at a high level, you can see how that could work. Your main company, your regions, devolve it down to the business units, and business responsibilities and business functions. Or start billing each organization from the top. So, big thing in the product, okay, and this is all we talk about, customization, flexibility. What can you do? Change the language. You define the language. By users, by administrators, by regions, whatever. You can chop and dice it as you require. Service alerts that go out to your users, yeah? Be proactive. Do it in their native language. Use or vastly deploy SMS authentication is because they may have different offices or user bases across multiple regions. So sending SMSs to different regions or different countries becomes extremely expensive. Using the multi-tier, multi-tenant, you can create each region, and each region has its local SMS gateway. Zero cost. Branding by region, by users. OTP policy. So this is the one-time password that's generated on the app or on the physical token itself. To date, most organizations or most competitive products, you're forced to use a 6-digit one-time password, and that's numeric. Why? So you're applying that same OTP policy to every type of user. You may have a receptionist who requires authentication, but her access to data is slightly lower. You may have an IT admin who's got access to everything, and he's using the same policy. Really? With SaaS, you can actually say for the secretary, give her a 4-digit OTP, and then for your IT admin, give them an 8-digit OTP, alphanumeric base 64. So you can actually configure the optimal user experience based on the asset or the risk you're trying to mitigate. Totally unique. So you define the complexity of the one-time password and all the PIN. Role management, role and scope. You should have true segregation of duty on the management of authentication. So the authentication platform should have segregation of duty, as in someone deploying tokens, someone revoking tokens, whatever. And if an auditor came in, they would recommend that. Out of the box, you get that with SaaS. We have something called role and scope. I have a particular role in the organization to do with authentication, so I have a particular scope. You define that. Reporting, pretty much reports on everything. Alerts, activity, billing, number of authentications, whatever. We break it down into 4 categories: billing, compliance, security, and I've totally forgot the order, but trust me, there's 4. So pretty much everything. In fact, there's nothing in the platform that you cannot customize and configure uniquely for yourself. But you're all thinking, oh my god, this product sounds very, very complicated and technical. It's not. If you can use a mouse, you can use this product. It's click, click, click. For example, if you added a new user to Active Directory or LDAP, wouldn't it be great if it just kicked the authentication service and deployed and issued that token automatically? And that's exactly what the platform does. So, again, it's all about automation. So with the SaaS service, as and when you add users in and out of AD or Active Directory, excuse me, the bunch is repeating, it will automatically deploy the token. So you don't have to add a user into AD and go to the authentication platform. You just add it in AD or Active Directory. It just happens. You don't have to do anything else. And the reverse if you delete or disable the user from your user store. So how do we do this? We have an agent. The agent is non-intrusive, okay? This agent can sit anywhere on your network. It's read-only. You don't have to ring up your AD guys to say install this. It doesn't need dedicated hardware. It's resilient. It communicates back to us over HTTPS using AES-256 encryption. Totally non-intrusive, extremely secure. Every time the agent senses a change, it updates SaaS. It's that simple. On top of that, it doesn't have to work with AD around that. Any user store at all, maybe BC, Lotus, whatever. And again, you don't have to change the schema. So a lot of products out there, in order to configure it to work with an authentication platform or service, you need to change the schema on your user store. That's not practical yet. If you change the schema to fit to a product, it's going to affect other parts of the business. With us, that's not the case. Again, open platform. You configure us to map to your business. So, what does SafeNet Authentication Service give you? It gives you a unified authentication platform in seconds. Radius supports APIs, .NET, Mono, Java, SAML. For those of you who don't know what SAML is kind of the next kind of evolution of authentication. In fact, if SAML is implemented correctly, it will give you single sign-on as well. So all the cloud applications now are starting to support SAML, a lot of cloud applications as well. However, you may have some proprietary authentication mechanisms. So again, using our APIs, custom bridges, you could tie us into you. So, I said I wasn't going to talk about tokens, and I'm not. But people like pictures. These are the types of tokens in many different flavors and forms, okay? So hardware tokens are hardware tokens. Different shapes, sizes, colors, flavors, whatever. We support them, or we have them. Software tokens. Everyone has a device of some kind now, yeah? iOS, Android, whatever that comes next. We support all those flavors. SMS. We have 4 different types of SMS authentication. On demand, on request, out of band, inbound. USBs. Hold your certificate as well. Smart cards, hybrid, and grid-based. Why don't you have a token in the browser itself? So when you go to an application, for example, OWA or SharePoint, the token just pops up in the screen from the application. Great example outside if you want to see that. It's great, it's a grid. And the individual has a pattern unique to them. A couple of unique points about our tokens. Tokens do not expire. So once you purchase a token from SafeNet, it will never expire. You can take a token from Bob and give it to Alice. So you can reassign tokens and deassign tokens. You can control and configure the complexity of the one-time password and or the PIN, or a combination of the two. But more importantly, if you have an existing authentication vendor, which is not SafeNet, we can take those tokens and we can import them into our platform. For example, you've got a vendor at the moment, you've spent a lot of money on the tokens, you have to replace those tokens every 3 years. The back-end platform is costing you a lot of money to run and manage, and you can't do a lot of the functionality, which is just the default for us. So why don't you take those tokens you already have, import them into SaaS, and when those tokens are about to expire, our platform is so intelligent, it knows when they're going to expire. It will automatically email or alert the end user to enroll to a SafeNet token. Does all that automatically. Self-service portal, really important. If you have tokens, you need a place where users can go and self-heal. Okay? We have that out of the box. You configure it to exactly how you want it. Your look and feel, your brand, your logo, your color, your language, whatever. You can actually put different functionality on there. Request a token, my profile, reset PIN, resync token, reset PIP. PIP stands for Personal Identification Pattern. So let the user self-heal. This can be live in 1 minute. Workflow enrollment. How do you deploy 10,000 tokens in 10 minutes, or even 5 minutes, depending? This is how we do it. You go into the SaaS console, you create a custom enrollment message, which your users will understand in their local language, in a means that describes your business. And they just go through the process. So it's essentially, from the user's point of view, from receiving the email, it's 3 steps. They're live. And then the token is on their mobile device. It's so simple. So, I'm going to do a bit of myth busting now. People always say to me, yeah, love it, get it, but cloud-based products, they're not secure. Totally disagree. If you look at
Jason, I have a question. We have a lot of customers or a lot of people here from governmental institutions, and they probably have a fundamental issue to go with cloud offering.
Yep.
What is your actually SafeNet answer for this? Because I know the answer, but I just want to let them know, because We are coming in many flavors, and this is something what you should probably mention here as well.
Great. So I'm going to give you two answers. I'm going to give you a SafeNet answer. I'm going to give you me, Jason answer. Okay. Let's just think about the architecture. Yeah. So cloud-based service. The way SafeNet architecture of the platform is, one, from an availability point of view, it's a 5.9 SLA, which we've never defaulted on. We've been within SLA for, the service now has been live for 10 years. It's global, fully resilient, and it's all backed up in the contract. Security. Let's think about it. If the service was ever breached, one, it couldn't be because it's impossible. But what is it we're trying to protect? It's data, yeah? Going back to this morning. So what is the really sensitive data in this SafeNet authentication service? First of all, it's usernames. All the usernames are encrypted. The second thing is the seeds. You know, you may have all heard about seeds a couple of years ago, yeah? The seeds are all encrypted. So my point, all data, in fact not just sensitive data, every single piece of data, and we'll go on to what data of yours is being stored in our service in a minute, is actually stored in our hardware security modules, HSMs. It can't get any more secure. This is a physical encrypted device, hardware security module, HSM. It cannot be compromised. It's impossible to compromise. So hence why our environment is more secure than your environment where the authentication platform is installed. For those of you who today have an authentication platform on premise, you don't have hardware security modules. It costs you too much. Or maybe cost, maybe the wrong answer, the ability to integrate the two. Now let's get on to what data are you putting into our service. All we need is your email address. That's all we need. So the users you're giving authentication to, all we require is their email address and username, but the two are the same in every case. That stuff is public anyway, yeah? So in fact, you're not putting any sensitive data in, and the token seed files are all fully encrypted in a HSM. To my point where is 6-7 years ago, I can remember talking to pharmaceuticals, governments, insurance, banking. No way, Jason, are we moving our on-premise authentication product into the cloud. Fine. Then basically, over the years, now, even to now, we've got governments, we've got pharmaceuticals, we've got research companies, every single major industry we have on our platform globally. To the point where Alan Gartner predicts by 2017, more than 80% of organizations will be hosting their authentication from the cloud. And we're seeing that, in fact, quicker. You know, we've got some of the most sensitive organizations using our cloud authentication. It's no different to your antivirus or content filtering. How many of you now manage and host your own antivirus and content filtering? How many of you? None of you. It's all done in the cloud, it just happens. It's exactly the same with authentication. So Andre, I hope that's answered your question. People say, oh, it all sounds, lots of functionality, it all sounds too complicated to set up and configure. Not at all. You can be live in 1 minute. In fact, I will bet you a beer. It's not my beer, it's someone else's beer downstairs. But you can be live in 1 minute on this platform. Your business can be up and running in 1 minute. It's that quick. Another minute to add a user. Another minute for that user to enroll. Automation. If you're not utilizing automation now, you're crazy. Okay? Out of the box. Automate everything. Do it once, never do it again. That's what SaaS does. Choice. You decide what token you want. I don't care. You know what's best for your users. But more importantly, why don't you let your users decide what they want to use? So as part of the enrollment message, they can select the type of token. Or tokens. Give them multiple tokens. They have multiple devices. Let them decide. And then, total cost of ownership, yeah? The cost of a SaaS-based authentication platform is pretty much zero. All the hidden costs of wherever you're hosting it, or your government customers under it, you're trying to maintain it, you're trying to update it, you've got the infrastructure, I can go on, you've got the licensing. With the SafeNet authentication service, it's a cost per user per month, includes everything. The service and the tokens. Fixed cost per month per user. OpEx. Pay as you go, pay as you use. Why write out the check for an on-prem service for 50, 60,000 euros? Oh yeah, and then by the way, you've got to pay 10,000 euros every year for maintenance. Oh yeah, then all the hidden costs as well. The infrastructure, the availability. Fixed cost of SaaS, cost per user per month all in. Less than a coffee. Per user per month, okay? Depending on the brand of coffee, by the way. So I just want to touch on a few little things. This whole space is moving very, very quickly, yeah? If you haven't already worked it out, you need to be using authentication. Otherwise you will be breached.
What about availability during some disaster recovery scenarios? I mean, if we secure our systems,
Yep.
Even for administrator with SaaS, and network or internet connection become unavailable, what will do?
Okay. Yes. So, question around availability. Okay. Great question, by the way. The scenario was here: if they use SaaS to authenticate into our cloud service, and they're using the authentication for the administrator. So the administrator wants to get to root on a Cisco router, but the internet connection is down. Okay. What you can actually do, you can have a lot of organisations do that if you're going that granular from an authentication layer point of view. They have a local radius server on-prem, like a FreeBelt or Radius Steel Belt. Radius Steel Belt is their local authentication, but the proxies out to the cloud. Okay, does that make sense? So if the cloud is unavailable, you can do it locally up to 100 times. So there's different ways of doing it. But great answer. Any other questions? High-level roadmap items. This is really good. There's one thing I just want to there's plenty of things I could talk about in the roadmap, but this is just a really, really, really cool use case. So what we have is, we call it OTP on the go, and let's just go straight to this one. It's all about simplicity and use and convenience. So this particular OTP on the go, what it is when any of your users log on to an application that requires a username and password, basically it sends a push web services notification to SaaS. And what happens on your mobile device, the app just pops up. So I'm logging into my VPN, I click enter, and suddenly my app's flashing on my phone. All I do on my phone is press approve or deny. If I approve, it takes me straight into that application. Such a beautiful use case. So easy, frictionless, easy. But what you then can do, using contextual, is you can now start adding rules around this. So Jason is just on an OTP on the go. However, he's coming from a non-trusted business device. So you can step up the authentication. Or Jason now has just come in from a trusted device to log on to one of his applications, but he's in Asia. We haven't seen him in Asia before, so we send an out-of-band request. So what you can start doing is start building these profiles around the user experience. Because ultimately what you're trying to do is make it frictionless, make it transparent, make it really easy for the user. But if you feel that something's not quite right, where one trusted device, particular time of the day, or a particular region, you can start adding other elements to it. And it does all of this automatically. So you don't have to start creating rule bases. It can start profiling users as a wish you require. So, we are the leaders, okay, in what we do, in pretty much every product. Gartner issued their annual authentication quadrant. For the past, well, since they've only been doing it for 3 years now, yeah? SafeNet have been the leaders consistently for the past 3 years. Why? Because pretty much everything I've just told you. We have more deployments, we have more choice, we have more flexibility, more customization. So, I'm not going to repeat the summary. There isn't really any other choice here. All I ask you to do is, if you're looking at two-factor authentication, just try the SaaS service. And if you don't want it in the cloud, you can take the same product and install it as a private cloud instance. The same commercial model as well, okay? So you can have it on-prem or in the cloud. Just an example of some of the organizations around the world, the ones we can speak about, pretty much every industry and type of industry is using the SafeNet authentication service. Oh, another one again. Thank you. Any questions? Please.
Hello, thank you for the presentation. My name is Wojtek Kment and I'm a computer engineer but also a lawyer. And my question is, if some event goes before the court and some your reports which you produced might be asked to be presented in front of the judge. Yep. So what is the level of the assurance of your report? How convincing is it for a judge?
Great question. So if you go back, so I do a lot of expert witness stuff and spend a lot of time with legal people. What our reports are able to do in the logs is to prove the full audit trail that Joe Bloggs was the individual logging in. We can provide the full audit trail, the time, pretty much everything to do with that authentication session. And in fact, I know our logs have been used in various cases to prove that someone did something or someone logged in.
Maybe the question also contains if the administrator may produce such evidence data, or if someone has to ask you as a company and you...
Yeah, great. So the management console, you own it, it's yours. So you've got full administration access. Even the administrator has two-factor authentication to get in. You've got the segregation of duty, the roles and scope, so you can provide all those set up. But the liability and the responsibility is on the organisation using the service. They control it, they own it, they manage it, generate their own ports and logs. It's all self-contained. So you would never ever have to come to us and ask us to go and create a report. You have all the information there.
So from a legal point of view, it's software as a service, but legally it's kind of outsourcing, is it?
Yeah, so basically the way to look at it is we're just the infrastructure providing the service, okay? So all we're doing is, instead of you installing it on your premise, it's available instantly from the cloud, but you're still accountable and responsible for your users, etc. No.
Any other questions?
More questions? So, one thing, if you're going to do one thing today, yeah, and I'm not going to harp on, 76% of all attacks that are occurring are from transfers, okay? So if there's one thing you can do today, it's just get a trial, yeah? Ask for a trial account. You get tokens, it's fully functional, it's really easy, yeah? Just if you're going to do one thing, and of course drink a beer later as well, yeah? But, okay? Thank you.
So Jason, thank you very much.